Welcome to Tired Mommy Revival. Hey mama, are you running on coffee fumes? Feeling like brain fog, fatigue, and anxiety are running the show? Do you wake up dreading the day ahead, already overwhelmed by the endless to-do list and unsure how you'll make it through? Do you long for the energy to enjoy motherhood and care for yourself, but feel stuck and unsure where to start? Let me remind you of something life-changing. You were created for more energy, more clarity, more joy. Hi, I'm Jerusha, certified holistic wellness coach, wife and mom to 2 wild boys and 1 baby girl in heaven. I know the exhaustion you're feeling because I've been there, barely making it through the day, relying on coffee and chocolate to survive, and wondering why nothing I tried ever made me feel better. Then, God stepped in and revealed a powerful truth. A woman's body is beautifully and uniquely designed to thrive. When we align with how God created us, we can boost our energy, bust through fatigue, and step into the vibrant, joy-filled life He has for us. Mama, I'm living proof that it's possible. These days, I wake up refreshed, nourish my body with intention, and navigate the chaos of motherhood with patience and peace. Most days. And I want to help you do the same. If you're ready to swap exhaustion for energy, brain fog for clarity, and guilt for grace, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll dive into practical strategies, faith-filled truths, and empowering tools to renew your health, body, soul, and spirit. Are you ready for this? Let's do it, mama. You know, when we think about adding more veggies to our family's plate, dinner is usually the first place our brain goes. It's the official meal of the day. We've actually thought about it, planned it, bought the groceries for it. But here's the thing. Just because dinner is the most intentional meal doesn't mean it's the easiest. And if you're anything like me, your evening might look like this. Around 3:30 or 4, the day's actually going pretty well. I've checked off some to-dos, gotten the big projects off my list, maybe even sipped a cup of tea without reheating it 3 times. My youngest might have napped or had some quiet time. Life feels almost peaceful for a moment. And then it's like some invisible alarm goes off. My older son comes home from school, backpacks get dumped, homework starts, someone's crying in the other room, and now I'm in the kitchen trying to make dinner. I'm chopping veggies, checking the recipe, stirring something on the stove, and then I'm helping with long division while mentally calculating if the chicken will be cooked through in time. By the time dinner's ready, I feel like I've just run a small marathon, emotionally and physically. But hey, I did it. The meal's hot, it's on the table, and I'm proud of myself because it's actually healthy. And then, here it comes. One of the kids looks at their plate and says, "What is this? It looks disgusting." Cue the sighs, the stares, and maybe the poking at the broccoli like it's radioactive. And in that moment, I'm not thinking about all the love, planning, and intention I put into that meal. I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Do you know how hard I worked to make this happen for you? So yeah, dinner time can be the worst time to convince kids to eat something new, especially veggies. Everyone's tired, cranky, and running low on patience, including us mamas. But there is another time of day that might just be our secret weapon: morning. And before you say, my kids are not morning people, hear me out. Breakfast has some big advantages. They're rested, they've got a clean slate emotionally, and if those veggies are hiding out in waffles, muffins, or oatmeal, they might just say yes without even realizing they're eating them. First, let's talk about what breakfast is traditionally. Here's the truth. Most of what's marketed as breakfast foods for kids is setting them up for failure before the school day even starts. Why? Because these foods are sugar loaded, often have more sugar than a dessert, but disguised as a balanced breakfast. They're nutrient void, lacking protein, healthy fats, or any micronutrients kids actually need to fuel their bodies and brains. They're ultra processed, stripped of natural fiber and nutrients, and then fortified with synthetic vitamins just to look healthier. They're artificially colored and flavored. Food dyes like red 40 and yellow 5 can trigger hyperactivity, mood changes, and focus issues in some kids. And they're convenience focused over health focused. They're designed to be quick and easy, not to nourish growing bodies. And yet, these foods have become normal. They are marketed with bright colors, fun mascots, and words like whole grain or fortified to make us feel better about buying them. Let's talk about the usual suspects. Fruit Loops. 1 cup has about 12 grams of sugar. That's 3 teaspoons. And honestly, most kids pour closer to 1.5 to 2 cups, meaning 5 to 6 teaspoons before they even leave the house. Add in the artificial colors, and we're basically serving a bowl of sugar and chemicals to start the day. Let's talk about the household staple of Eggo waffles. Even the home-style version has added sugar, very little fiber, and barely any protein. And they're made from refined flour. They'll fill bellies for about 30 minutes before the energy crash sets in. Next is Quaker-flavored oatmeal packets. Sounds wholesome, right? But the maple and brown sugar packet has 12 grams of sugar per packet. Most kids need 2 packets to feel full at all. So that's 24 grams or about 6 teaspoons of sugar before first period. Here's why that's a big deal. First of all, the energy crash. The sugar spike is followed by a mid-morning slump. Next is mood swings, including irritability, low patience, and meltdowns. We also run into focus issues. Blood sugar swings make it harder to pay attention and retain information. And sugar cravings. That morning spike triggers the body to keep looking for quick fixes all day long. And lastly, there's hormone disruption. Especially in preteens, unstable blood sugar can interfere with puberty timing and hormone balance. If we want our kids to thrive in school, sports, and life, they need protein to keep them full and focused, healthy fats for brain development and hormone health, and fiber and complex carbs for slow burning energy and digestion, and micronutrients, vitamins and minerals from veggies and fruit to keep their immune systems and hormones working well. When we give them this kind of fuel, they show up more focused, less moody, and with better energy all day long. Let's rewind to the early days of my own family's shift. When I first decided I wanted to make healthier breakfast for my son, my first big change was swapping regular Eggo waffles for the whole grain Eggo waffles. I know, radical, right? We also switched from the cartoon covered cereal boxes to something from the health food section, and I was feeling pretty proud of myself. Until I realized that cereal wasn't actually organic. I had fallen for the pretty all-natural marketing. So here's your reminder. If it's in the health aisle, that doesn't actually make it healthy. Read your labels, mamas. Eventually, I had to admit that this better cereal was still highly processed and loaded with sugar. That's when I decided no more processed sugar for breakfast. Mornings were going to be about real fuel. By then, my younger son had come along and he'd had the crunchy start. Organic pregnancy, homemade baby purees, the whole deal. My older son, not so much. He had grown up on Fruity Pebbles, Eggos, and Little Debbie muffins. You can guess which kid took the change harder. I remember those grocery store moments so clearly. My older son would look at me with his big eyes and ask, "Mom, when can we get waffles again?" and my heart would just ache. But I'd say, I know you love them, buddy, but they're not good for our bodies. These new waffles are so much healthier for us. He didn't like it. I didn't like saying it. But here's the part I want you to hear. Over time, he adjusted. He stopped asking. And eventually, he even liked the healthy waffles better. And that's the thing about this journey. It takes time. There's resistance. There's disappointment. But the wins do come. As a side note, I recently did something. I actually bought a box of Eggos the other day. Yes, on purpose, purely scientific, of course. I popped them in the toaster, served them up, and waited for my son's reaction. He takes a bite, chews for a second, and says, "Yeah, I don't miss these. Our waffles are better." I nearly dropped my coffee. That, my friends, is the sound of victory. And just for the record, I did not slip him a $5 bill to say it. Moments like that remind me this is the journey we take our kids on, and honestly, ourselves too, when we start living a new lifestyle. It's kind of like when you first start following Jesus. You don't wake up the next day with every habit and thought pattern instantly transformed. You grow into new beliefs, new ways of living, new values, little by little. And change? Well, change is hard. That's why we have to give ourselves and our families grace to be in that in-between space, the place where we were and where we're headed. Now, as a foodie, I love bringing my family joy with food. And as a mom, I love when they eat without the Oscar-worthy performance about how green things are basically poison. Can I get an amen? Over time, I realized we had to find that sweet spot where we could still enjoy food, but also actually be nourished by it. It's not an overnight thing. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But when you get those little wins, like the day your kid chooses your healthy waffles over an Eggo, you know it's worth it every single time. For our family, the game changer, the thing that truly shifted us from breakfast battles to breakfast wins, was veggie loaded waffles, muffins, and oatmeal. I stumbled across the idea when I was deep in Pinterest looking for baby-led weaning foods for my little guy. I had been making things like baby-friendly spinach pancakes when I came across this food blogger who had a whole series of recipes for her signature veggie-loaded breakfast. At first, I thought this was either insane or absolutely genius. But honestly, I was so tired of the dinnertime meltdowns that I figured it was worth a try. Maybe, just maybe, this could be the switch we were looking for. A total distraction from what my oldest expected breakfast to be. So I chose a recipe that hid the veggies completely, poured syrup on the waffles, and served them up without a single comment. Sure, they weren't Eggos, but they were the start of something good. Looking back, that was a pivot point for us in learning to love veggies. In the beginning, I hid the veggies altogether. I didn't let my oldest see what I was making. No reason to start a battle before we even sat down. But as he got used to those waffles, I eventually dropped in casually one day. "You know, you eat spinach in your waffles, and you love it." He did not believe me. He said, "There's no way that there's spinach in those waffles. I don't like spinach. I don't eat it." So the next time I made the recipe, I showed him the handfuls of spinach I was blending up before sizzling those yummy waffles on the griddle. And that's when it clicked for him. Hey, I might not like spinach salad, but I do like spinach waffles. That was a huge mental shift. And once we had that win, it was like wind in our sails. We only grew from there. Now our breakfast looks totally different. We have things like spinach chocolate chip muffins, carrot cake oatmeal, and blueberry zucchini waffles. I've added pumpkin, beets, carrots, spinach, and zucchini to my kids' breakfast, paired with whole grain flour, oats, flax seeds, nuts, and zero refined sugars. And the best part, they love them. They ask for them, and they turn up their noses at Eggos. But let's be honest, if you're at the beginning of your journey, you probably still have a lot of questions and objections. And who can blame you, Mama? So that's exactly what we're going to tackle next week. We're going to talk about how to promote a growth mindset, even if your kids dig their heels in at the slightest hint of change, how to overcome objections at the table and build real buy-in, how to create and celebrate small wins that keep the momentum going, how to play the long game for lasting wellness wins, and how to deal with veggies if your kids act like you just set a plate of radioactive broccoli in front of them. I am not a professional in this regard by any means, but I promise to share all the things that have worked for me over the years. Trust me, you're going to want to be there for this one. And stick around because before the end of the series, I'll be sharing the exact recipes I use for healthy breakfast, tips for meal prepping so you're not in the kitchen every morning, and how to make this sustainable for your family. Until next time, remember, you were created for wellness, and we're walking it out together, Mama, one small step at a time. Mama, I hope this episode blessed you and reminded you that you were beautifully and uniquely made to thrive. If today's conversation spoke to your heart, I'd love for you to take a moment to leave a rating and review. Not only does it encourage me, but it helps more tired mamas discover the hope, healing, and energy they've been searching for. You're not in this alone. Make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Together, we'll reclaim your energy, renew your health, and revive your spirit, one step at a time. Until next time, remember, you are beautifully designed by God to live with energy, clarity, and joy. You're not just surviving, Mama. You're stepping into the vibrant life you were created for. I'm cheering you on.